obviously, I was immediately annoyed when I saw the story, um, because we're getting the story not exactly like this, but we're getting these sorts of stories that show the UK is just not on pace at all. And like we used to be one of the financial epicenter, and now we just seem to be slipping so quickly. But then I did notice some sort of cognitive dissonance, and perhaps I'm being even more generous to the Bank of England than Freddie's been, but I think perhaps under all of it is the intention to keep the pound strong. In March, when Scott Bessent spoke at the summit at the White House, I think he made a really good point, which is proving to be true. So I've got the quote, exactly what he said. Scott Bessent said, "We are going to keep the US the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stablecoins to do that." And I said at the time, I think that's a really strong tactic. I think that might actually be a really clever idea. And so I guess it's born of a similar thing. But my question for you, Freddie, is do you think if the most popular stablecoin was British pound backed instead of USDT, do you think this would be a different situation?
That's a fantastic question. And to be honest, I think you put your finger on the crux of the matter there. What would be more interesting for the bank to do, I think, would be to look at what the US is doing and why. And the three of us will know that historically the US has been able effectively to export its inflation for many years. And when we say export inflation, we mean that because the US has the world reserve currency, it's been able to effectively to issue more of that currency and not experience the negative effects of currency issuance that many other jurisdictions have experienced. My own home country, Zimbabwe, being a poster child for what not to do in terms of issuing new money. And understanding that is quite fundamental, I feel, to unpacking what the US are currently doing with stables. And Robert, I think you're completely right. If you read the executive orders, if you read the legislation, it's very clear that the US are beginning to use stables in order to perpetuate the hegemony of the US dollar. And, I'm a free market maximalist. If people want dollars, they want dollars, and they'll pay the exchange rate for them. I'm not necessarily supportive of that, but if the US dollar is better than your local currency, then, like I say, I come from a country where there was enormous demand for US dollars, and the first thing you wanted to do when you got paid in Zim dollars was to buy US dollars with it, purely because your purchasing power was evaporating in your Zim dollars faster than you could run to the supermarket. So unfortunately, I don't think we're any longer in a similar position in the UK.